Welcome back, Nick Lenz. Comic Corner, Classic, Non-Classic. This episode number 1038 and Doubleshot number 932. I got two Marvel trades. One, believe it or not, is a trade that just came out just this week. This trade actually I thought was going to release last month because I saw on Amazon it was released last month. But actually, released this month. Now you're probably thinking, okay, knowing Marvel, they probably released his after the arc was finished up. Nope, it wasn't released till just this week. What trade is this? The first trade collecting the current volume of Captain Marvel. Volume 1 Re-Entry, written by Kelly Thompson. In case you're wondering, this cover art is done by Amanda Connor. Yeah, one really damn good artist. Yep, Amanda Connor and Phil Mountis does the cover art. The interior art is done by Carmen Carnino. Yep. Now, here's the thing about this particular storyline. This takes place like right after the Life of Captain Marvel miniseries. When this volume started just this year, the Life of Captain Marvel was the most recent thing they published for Captain Marvel because you see, in between like the end of the last issue that came out last year, in the course of the miniseries, and this. Mostly, she's just been a guest star in other people's books. Like she popped up in Miss Marvel, she popped up in an issue of Champions. That's basically all Marvel did with her. It's like they didn't do what they need to keep her active until they can give her back her own ongoing series. And just by sheer coincidence, when this series started up just this year, it was 2 months before the release of her film. Yes, 2 months. In the case of when Doctor Strange came out a couple years ago, it was actually well over at least about 2 years before the film. Yeah, I believe it was like 2 years before the film came out. We actually had an ongoing series for Doctor Strange. In the case when Black Panther had his, it was kind of the same thing. He'd been publishing for about a little over 2 years. Actually, it was like a little over a year by the time this came out. This was basically coming like 2 months prior. As for a Marvel released in January this year, I have no idea. Now, over the course of the story, you get many supporting characters in this particular arc. You have Hazmat making her first appearance as the Avengers Undercover series. Actually, no, she didn't appear in that series. I think her last known appearance I can think of was Avengers Arena. Yeah, that was the last time I can think of. She pops up in here, Tony Stark. I mean, you want to think of one character appears with Carol the whole arc? It's one of her closest friends, Jessica Drew, aka the original Spider-Woman, who, by the way, is actually still in her look that she had during the second volume under Dennis Hopeless, before the series got abruptly canceled. Yep. In case you're wondering, she's still a mother. And no, Marvel has never revealed who the heck the father of her child is. It's one of the most baffling things. It's one of those many questions asked after Secret Wars happened, like when they had the 8-month time skip. They revealed she was pregnant. Yes, pregnant. And she gave birth to a boy named Gary, just like how she has a son named Gary in the MC2 universe. Who the father is? Never revealed. Hopeless never answered that question by the time we ended the series. We ended her run after just 10-ish. Actually, I think it was like 17 issues, I think it was. Yeah, surprisingly, when that volume ended, you know how long it's been since Jessica Drew's had an ongoing series? It's been, as of this year, it's been, I think it's been, 2 years. Actually, no, I think it's been about 3 years since her series ended. I still don't know why Marvel ended her series. It's one of the most baffling things. I mean, she's a great character. I loved her book. It's just that for some strange reason, we had to end her damn series. And of course, you end the series without bothering or answering the biggest question that people had when the volume started. Who was the father? Never revealed. Of course, that's never brought up in here. She's not the only one pops up in here. We also have the Avengers. Yeah, from the Jason Aaron run, because you have She-Hulk appearing here as well. No Doctor Strange, surprisingly. Yeah, I don't remember Doctor Strange popping here at all. Is there a guest appearance by, let's say, Spider-Man, a guy who she dated once? Well, yeah, appearance by Iron Man for about most of the storyline. You also have a guest star appearance by Rhodey! Yes, making his first appearance since his resurrection back in Iron Man 600, which came out, I believe, was just this year. Yeah, this is his first appearance like, since that particular thing ended. Like, it's shocking the fact that actually it was last year, I think it was. He's been back for like a year, and this is the first time he's actually encountered him. We also have the debut of Ripley Ryan, who was a reporter who does an article about, well, Carol Danvers. And then we have appearance by this guy, Nuclear Man. Who this guy is, I have no idea because he only appears in this one story. And that's one of the most baffling things. I have no idea who the heck this guy is. Yeah, Carol beats him in just 2 pages. Yeah, and then the Avengers show up basically when the whole thing is over with. And does like a lot of destruction in the area. Oh, I forgot to mention how the book opens. It's basically Carol and Spider-Woman taking out a freaking Kraken. Awesome. And then they get sucked to a portal, which I think is supposed to be a post-apocalyptic wasteland of Roosevelt Island, which apparently is controlled by women. Yes, women. Who's on this island? Well, you have Echo. Yes, Echo was actually brought back in the Charles Show run for Daredevil. And this is technically her first. She did show up. Actually, her last appearance was toward the end of Shoal's run. Yeah, that was the last time she showed up, was toward the end of his run. We also have Laura shows up in here. I'm still not calling her X-20. I think it's still stupid the fact Marvel reverted back to that stupid name. Honey Badger's in here as well. Like, and you also have appearance by frickin' Rogue. Yeah, even She-Hulk gets on the action. Like, why not? Yep. This overall, and of course they do defeat the villain by the very end. And, of course, they have lots of references to the Life of Captain Marvel miniseries. Like I said, came right before this one. This overall is really, really good. Great way to bring back the character. And also, here's the thing. They reveal her new apartment. Yeah, she's no longer living in the Crown of Statue of Liberty. Yeah, for some really reason, killing Kelly Thompson had to come back to Earth. She's no longer living there. She's living in East End. Why? Unknown why. It's one of the most strangest things that first, like, for a while, like, Kelly Sue Hunnick, who actually was what gave her his identity, at the end of her first volume she did for Carol as Captain Marvel, she basically had it where in the final issue, she got a new apartment because the apartment was destroyed thanks to whatever the story was happening before the Enemy Within storyline, that she lost her apartment. She needed a new home. So then Mary Jameson is like, okay, I know a place. How about the Crown of the Statue of Liberty? A place that has not been able, people publicly have not been able to access since 9/11. Yes, this is indeed true. Apparently, for some strange reason, for security reasons, the Crown is inaccessible to the public because I don't know what the current status is, but that's the last I heard. Because at one point people were allowed to climb up to the Crown itself, and prior to that, people were allowed to climb out to the torch of the Statue of Liberty. Nowadays, you don't get as far as the feet. That's as far as I've heard. I've personally never visited the statue, so I don't know what it is. Yes. I think it's great, though. They throw in like a lot of these great characters. And plus, I love this cover they have for this particular book. Amanda Connor basically like has like a homage to the Carol Danvers history. Like when she was an Air Force pilot, which by the way, in her day appearance, she was definitely Air Force, but no mention of her being a pilot. Yes, when she made her debut, that was when sexism was really high. Yeah, she became Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel into the mid-70s. Yeah, when the series was written by Chris Claremont. Oh yeah, and also we have the awesome rematch fight between Rogue and Carol. Yeah, really good. I give this book roughly a 9.5. I think it's really good, and I can't wait for the next fight to come out. Now, the 5th issue came out this past May. Now, normally when Marvel finishes concluding a storyline, they release it like a month after the story concluded. For some strange reason, we had to wait 4 months for this trade to come out, which made no sense at all to do. I think, the 10th issue just came out this week, and it's something though, we released the first trade now. It's baffling and the reason why for that. Now on to a different trade. This is Daredevil's Fearless Origin. This collects Daredevil Season 1, the one shot that is sort of a modern retelling of Daredevil's first 12 issues of his ongoing series. Yeah, it's a modern retelling of it because there's laptops, cell phones. Oh, yeah, and they also have the first issue of the current run under Chips Ardesky. Yeah. You have to fight the Malador. He doesn't have accounts with the Kingpin because, well, he doesn't count them. The thing with Daredevil, like, a lot of people have this misconception that Kingpin is only a Daredevil villain. Kingpin has fought almost every known superhero in the Marvel Universe. I mean, he was originally a Spider-Man villain. The only reason why he's an enemy of Daredevil because Frank Miller did that back in the 80s with issue 170. That was also the issue to review the Kingpin's real name, Wilson Fisk. Yep. Now, we also have the storyline for the Season 1 book is Matt Murdock trying to save a church from being, let's just say, demolished. A church. Which apparently the guy who is trying to run the person out is the brother of the priest. And the priest apparently knows Matt Murdock is Daredevil. And doesn't like the name at all. Doesn't anything but the costume. I don't know. That far I can tell, this might be a nod to the Daredevil movie. Which, like, Matt Murdock's priest in the movie apparently does not like the costume at all. He hates the costume. Here, he doesn't like the fact he calls himself a devil. It might be a nod to that. I don't have any idea. Of course, he fights. He does not fight Slade. Yes, Slade, a.k.a. the Fixer. Yes, there was a joke about this when Linkara did a review of the first issue of Daredevil, where he poked fun like, "Oh no, not the Fixer." This is, of course, after he did the controversial Holy Terror episode. I believe the very same year, though it's a completely different character. Yeah, the Fixer himself is the one technically responsible for the death of battling Jack Murdock. Yeah. Here, they don't actually bother to actually have his murder solved in this story. Yeah, there's no mention, like, he's dead, definitely, but they don't have him go after his murderer in this story. Nope. Yeah, first thing done here is that he, well, gets hired by Fantastic Four, deals some legal stuff, fights frickin' Electro, which, yes, this is true. This was the first costume villain he ever fought. If anybody's ever read Daredevil number 2, the one from the 60s, not the one from the 90s or the other ones. Yeah, he fought frickin' Electro. And he fought him like a few times. And that was it. That was only in the 60s. Though he's not the only known villain who shows up in here who has fought Daredevil. We also have his first original villain, the Owl, which you can kind of count him as the first crime boss that Daredevil's fought, but like I said, not the only one, but it's always great to see the frickin' Owl. Because he's a great character. He's a very underrated character. And here's something, though. Like, here's a scene involving the Purple Man, which is just a modern retelling. It's just basically a retelling of Daredevil number 7, which is the debut of the Purple Man. Yeah, the whole thing with Purple Man lasts just for a few pages, but yeah, it'll last for 4 pages. Because the original comic, it was like a whole issue of this, where he uses powers to get himself out of the jail. And yes, Daredevil, the original story, did use an American flag to basically tie him up so he can use his mouth to manipulate people. Which is great. Gotta love this nod to Daredevil film. Yep. And look, because it's modern day, we have to have a laptop. Because why not? Excuse me. Then we have the Malador. Yes, a guy who we fought in issue 8. Yeah. Who, by the way, this guy here also showed up in issue of the Kate Bishop Hawkeye run. Yeah, that's not a joke. He seriously did. Yep. And I think he's like the last. He actually fights for a good chunk of the issue. But Malador, very underrated villain. Not very known villain per se. You also have him fight Ox and the Eel. Yes, Ox is a member of the Enforcers, a group of Spider-Man villains. Yes. We also have the Eel. I believe this is the original Eel, the guy right here behind him. Yeah, because the original Eel, believe it or not, was actually killed in the issue of Ghost Rider. You wonder who killed him? The Scourge of the Underworld. Yeah, he was actually the very first victim of the Scourge. Yeah, the very first victim. We also have appearance by Mr. Fear, who essentially put is a ripoff of the Scarecrow. Yes, he's one of two characters in Marvel Comics who is a ripoff of the Scarecrow. The other is a character also called the Scarecrow who basically uses crows. Yep. Mr. Fear. Wow. Yeah, he's actually a very big Daredevil villain. It's surprising that this guy has never appeared outside the comics. Great character, and he's never appeared in a Daredevil Netflix show, nor the actual Daredevil film. And you have to keep using the Kingpin. Yep. Of course, there's also a subplot here involving corruption, like a corrupt politician. Yep. Now the season 1 issue is fantastic. I highly recommend it. The issue ends with Daredevil in his more traditional costume, the red costume he's known for wearing over the years. Now we read him in the Daredevil book, the current book. They give sort of a update to his costume. It's still red. Yes. His new costume is still red. Of course, he has to have it to where he has sex with Elektra, because why not? Because he's always with freaking Elektra. Now his costume. Let me show off his costume. Yeah. This costume is basically an update of the classic red costume. I mean, the only updates that he made to the costume is that he put some lines on his mask, and he's got lines in his armpit. But otherwise, though, not much different. And of course, they made a slight update to his boots. Yeah, but otherwise, though, still the same costume. Oh yeah, and in case you're wondering, the whole thing with him being very scruffy looking, that's very typical Daredevil. Half the time he doesn't bother to shave whenever he's Daredevil. That's pretty much traditional Daredevil. I at least got to praise the fact that Marvel actually bothered to put his first issue in here, which also has a guest star appearance by the Kingpin of Crime himself, Wilson Fisk, who is the mayor of New York City. And I actually forgot to ask Charles Shaw about this, of how he got the idea of making the Kingpin the mayor of New York, because Mark Waid did the same thing back in 2009 when he made Jameson the mayor of New York, though kind of similar circumstance. He's out of town for a while, comes back, one of his biggest enemies is now the mayor of New York. Yep. Yeah, Fisk has been mayor of New York now for, I think, about 2 years now. Yep. This trade overall is really good, and I do recommend it basically if you're wanting to check out the current run. This is a good way to test your strength on it. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Plus, I love the thing with the season 1 stuff. Now, this is technically the second one, especially the third one I review, because I've also reviewed Doctor Strange, and I've also reviewed Spider-Man. It's just a modern retelling of the original classic stories, like taking those classic stories and retelling modern day without being an all-out reboot. Because Marvel tried this back in the 90s with Spider-Man. It's called Chapter 1. A series that was actually hated. Yes, people didn't care for Chapter 1 at all, though they actually reused the costumes for Spider-Man villains. And Howard Mankey basically had the Spider-Man villains, actually wear those costumes from that series in his run. Yeah, but after he left, they went back to their classic costumes that Steve Ditko designed for them. Yeah. I also got... Now, if you're wondering who actually wrote Daredevil Season 1, that is actually done by Anthony Johnson. He's the one who writes it. The artwork is by Wilson A. Olives, yes. Yep. So, if you're a Daredevil fan, I do recommend checking this out. Alright, so that's it for this particular review. I definitely don't have any more videos planned for today. But tomorrow, several videos. One Piece, Boruto, Dragon Ball Super, probably another Comic Corner, and another episode, part of the Cardcaptor Sakura anime review, okay? But see you next video. Bye.